Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 45. I'm kidding. Of the challenge. It's actually day 7 of our actual challenge. So, Tuesday, the 27th of February. And so happy to have you all here. As I'm going to give it another minute for people to come in. But today we're going to talk about money, one of my favorite things to talk about. Because when you're in business, you got to talk about money. So let me let all these folks that are coming right this very minute in the door. So I want to say a couple things. First of all, Caro, I got your message about what you would like to see at the retreat, and we're definitely on that. I wanted to say that I wanted to tell Gracie when she gets here, she comes today, but I did get a big producer for Sunday's event, who can talk to us about getting distribution. If you have a series, can talk about making money, producing things. There comes Gracie right now, so I will tell her for Sunday's event. And so yeah, I wanted to let you guys know that. So when Gracie gets in here, I'll let her know. Gracie, I did get that producer for I got the producer for Sunday's event.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that can talk to David, my friend David. He's gonna be our guest at Sunday's event. He's gonna talk to you about how he went from actor with minimal credits to selling 4 shows.
Wow.
And in Canada and in America, and in he's going to talk to us about that, so he can answer your questions on Sunday about the distribution that you asked yesterday. So I went and asked him, he said yes. Also, for you guys that are in the group, our clients, I'm also going to ask him to do our retreat, because I know a lot of you guys wanted to ask to get in deep about distribution and how I get my movie made, how I get financing, like all of those questions. And so we're gonna do our best to get those answered for you at our upcoming retreat and at our one-day event, which is this Sunday, Accelerate Live. If you do not have a ticket for that and you would like to join us, here is the link for that.
Is that going to be taped? Because I have to work on Sunday.
Oh, you do? No, not this event. I'm sorry that you can't
Okay. That's all right.
be there. But like, you know what? You should yesterday I shared the link to my calendar. I mean, Gracie, you and I should talk at some point.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
know, yeah, so have a conversation. So
Okay.
I can put that in the link. I can put that in the chat again. Let me just get that. I didn't have that up, but let me get that for you guys. So this is a link to my calendar. This is really not a coaching. This is not a coaching link to coach with me. It's a link to talk to me about the possibility of working with us or joining our group. You know, I wrote something down yesterday that I wanted to share with you, which I think is like really important. And then today we're going to talk about money. Let me just let these people in. Okay, so here's the link to my calendar. Gracie, get on my calendar and let's talk. So I have this statement about masterminding with people, you know, and this is really true for us here at Actors Fast Track and the mastermind that exists with us and the clients. What we've done here is we've created a container and an environment so our community will generously share their network wisdom and resources to support each person in the group so we can move forward creating our greatness. And I thought that's genius because that's really what we've done here. And I say we because it's not just me. I mean, when I started this mastermind 12 years ago, my goal was to create a group where we could because how many of you guys have like asked your friend for help or to recommendation for an agent or to give you an email address for a casting director producer and they don't feel comfortable doing that? Because not only are we the most gaslit profession in the world, but we're also turned against each other. Right? We are not here to really support each other. And so I wanted to create an environment where that did not exist. And I really feel like that's happened. And it's really because of the people that are in the group. And I just want to say that I wrote that yesterday and it really spoke to me about what we do for each other because I was on school. And I know I'm speaking to just the clients, but we have this thing called Biz School and we have a platform called School and there's a lot of communication going on in there. And I was just so inspired by the things that you guys were saying to each other and supporting each other on. I just wanted to say that because I was on there today. We just added a bonus to the marketing for actors and you all have access to that. So a bonus class to just, so take a look at that when you get a chance. Okay, so for the challenge, welcome to the challenge, day 7. We're going to talk about money today, which is one of my favorite topics. So let me tell you a little story just to get you understanding. First of all, when you start your company or when you finally understand that you're an entrepreneur and that you are in this to make money as an actor, guess what you're going to run up against? You're going to run up against your money demons, the money stories. And for most of us, those go very deep because at least in America, we are not educated around money without you have a degree in finance. We're not educated in our regular school system about money, about the handling of a money. And that's a problem because then a lot of us grow up with these money stories that we get from different sources. So, a number of years ago, about 2 years after I started Actors Fast Track, I went to this big event with entrepreneurs from all over the world. There was like 1,000 entrepreneurs there. It was in this big thing in Vegas, right? And we were working on building our business, right? And so the host, she's Southern, and she was like, so what are your customers' pains? She said, what do your customers complain about? What are their pains? And so I got up to the mic, and I said, well, my customers think that they need an agent. And if they get an agent, all of their problems will be solved. That's their biggest problem. Most, this is after talking to thousands of actors, that most of you guys are either concerned about, like, if I just got an agent, it would be like the magic wand over my career and I would finally get a career. That's what most of you believe. I don't agree with that because I've now helped thousands of actors and that's just never been the truth, really. But I got up to the mic and I said that. And then I said a few other things that you guys have problems about. And she stood up on that stage and she was like right up here and I was down at the mic, there's 1,000 people in the room, right? And she said, well, where's all the money in that? Don't actors want to make money? We had some people here that used to be actors. Didn't y'all want to make money? And while she's saying all this bullshit, I'm thinking in my head, honey, you have no idea. First of all those people that used to be actors, they're not me. I'm an actor. I'm a real actor. Like, I have real credits, right? That's what I'm thinking, whoop-de on me. And then I'm also thinking, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Actors don't care about money. That's the last thing they think about. And then all of a sudden, this giant light bulb went off over my head. And I was like, holy shit, that's the problem. And it was such an eye-opener for me because I realized that the issue is that we don't think about money. And that's why we're not making it. That's why we give away our shit for free. That's why we go do a play and or if we do a job and the agent doesn't pay us, we're over here afraid to ask the agent for our check. How many of you guys have been in that experience? Afraid to get the money that's owed to you, right? A lot of you understand what I'm talking about, right? Mike's like, no, but Mike, you're a business person, right? But most of these people aren't, right? So they don't really understand, like, you know, I had a young lady that was a client years ago that did a State Farm commercial, non-union. I had at the same time done a union State Farm commercial, and I got paid within 2 weeks, right? I was meeting with her in October. She had done the commercial in May, and she still had not received a check, right? And learning how to pick up the phone and ask for the money is like a whole damn thing, right? So it's important, and we talk about this a lot. We brought in money coaches, and we talk a lot about this in our group. In our retreats, we've had money sessions, and I'm not going to go too deep into that today, but the beginning of understanding money for you as an actor is understanding what are your streams of revenue. All right, so that's really your homework today, is to write down for yourself, what are your possible streams of revenue in your business? Where could you have money coming in, and where could you have more money? So for you guys that have money coming in, like Mike has money coming in from commercials, right? Maggie has money coming in from commercials and theatrical residuals, right? So where could you either increase that money, or where could you add an additional stream of revenue that you don't have coming in? If you don't have any revenue coming in from your acting career, I want you to look at, where is the quickest path to cash for you? Where's the quickest path to cash for you? So where do you think you could book the quickest? Right? So I want you to start to identify your streams of revenue. So I'll give you another little story. I have an actress that I work with that hired me a few years back to get more TV and film. She was doing some voiceover and was making some money in it, and her husband was a sound engineer, right? So then we started getting into audiobooks, and she started to actually make money with audiobooks, right? So then last year she came back to me and she rehired me. And she said, I want to do TV and film. And I said, well, how much money did you make last year doing audiobooks after we had worked on that? She said, oh, I made about $40,000. And I said, awesome. Why don't we work right now on getting that number to 100,000? Because with audiobooks, if you get your number to 100,000, it's going to probably hold pretty steady for many years. Because here's the thing, people don't get sick of your voice, they get sick of your face, but they don't get sick of your voice. So if you build a career in voiceover, and there's many streams of revenue under the voiceover canopy, right? There's audiobooks, there's animation, there's commercials, there's video games, there's dubbing, there's all kinds of loop groups, as we talked about in this group already, right? There's a lot of ways to make money under the voiceover world. So is there something that you could be increasing? So she said, okay, let's work at getting it to $100,000. And then a few months later, she found out she was pregnant. And she was like, thank you, because now I can build this career to take care of my child. And then we can work on the TV and film. right? But I'm going to get that number up to a six-figure number. So I'm making, $100,000 a year doing what I love to do. And then I can add on to that because it's way easier to add on something or to produce your own movie or to produce your own, web series or your own TikTok series or whatever you have your mind set on doing if you actually have money coming in the door. Right? And then you are free to move around. So if there's an area that you feel like you can make money in doing it, I want you to identify that in your homework today. I want to say that the work that you guys did yesterday on your teams was absolutely phenomenal. Some of you guys wrote stuff down like your hairdresser. I loved it. Like your headshot photographer. Like there was some really amazing, team ideas and identifying who's on your team. And yes, like anyone that supports you, whether it's Actors Fast Track or me personally or Scott personally or your mother or your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, or everyone that supports and is on your team. I want you to think of it like that. But you guys did a fantastic job of identifying your team members and who you would like to have on your team. Don't throw that list away. I want you to keep that list up in front because it will help you as you begin to build your team. And we had a lot of conversation about that yesterday. Today, I'd like you to start to identify what are your streams of revenue? Where could you make more money coming in, or where could you get money coming in? We had a young lady that was a client for a few years that makes $100,000 a year doing non-union commercials, voiceovers. And the reason she did that, y'all, is because she was pursuing musical theater in New York and she had a foot surgery. So she wasn't able to dance or go to auditions. And so she was on her butt for 6 months. And she used that time wisely. She went and took a class and learned how to develop a voiceover career. She did that. She got a big agent. And then she started like building her voiceover career to where now she makes consistently 6 figures a year. And she has like a lot of clients, right? Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what your belief is, she's non-union, right? And so, we've had this conversation a lot, and we have it frequently around these parts. So that's just the facts. I'm just telling you what she's doing. So we do have, people that are making consistent money, whether it's commercials, voiceovers, theatrical stuff, right? Because once you get enough theatrical stuff, then you will begin to get residual checks. Like last week, I got a couple of $100 in residual checks. And so that's not enough to completely support me, but I also got a check for a job that I did on January 31st. So that helped. So, I made in January, I didn't make in January, I made about $600 from acting. This month, I made about $1,800 from acting. So, there's different amounts that you make. And so like, okay, right. And that being said, I'm not really out there severely pursuing it. But I know where my streams of revenue are, and I know where I could go and turn it up if I needed to. And that's what I need you to be aware of, even if you haven't made money as an actor yet. Okay? All right. Who has questions? Hi, Sandra.
Hey Val, how you doing?
I'm pretty good.
I wanted you to clarify when you say streams of revenue, are you talking about only in the business or are you talking about other streams of revenue?
Okay, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. yeah, if you want to set up your, you set up your business and think about it how you want to think about it. I would recommend if you do list other streams of revenue, like waiting tables or teaching acting or, whatever, if you have other things that you do to make money, that you keep the money that comes from acting in your head and on paper separate. Because I would like you to get a clear vision of what, and even if you've been doing this for a long time, like I know you have, it's good to start it now where you go, how much money am I spending on my acting? How much money is going out the door and how much money is coming in? Right? Because I've been tracking my money for years, but then 14 months ago, I started really, really seriously tracking it. Like, I hired this company and they had spreadsheets that were like mind blowing. And so every Friday, I do this thing called Money Ritual, where I turn on music and I light a candle and I read my affirmations and I do my business and I track income and expenses, right? And then I set a budget. And then I look at my annual overview. It tracks everything. And then I also track my personal. I track my credit cards, what they are, what the payoff structure is. I track my savings. I track my investments. I do everything money on Friday. I spend about 2 hours every Friday. I also meet with my husband to discuss.
And great.
Yeah, so that really, that's helped us because most relationships break up because of money, right? So if you are if you haven't really done that in your acting career, it would be good to sort of start to do that. Like you can do it on a normal spreadsheet. How much am I spending this week on my acting career? Did I have any money coming in? But yeah, if you want to have like in business, they always tell you to keep your business separate from your personal, right? They tell you for tax purposes and just so you don't get audited by the government that you don't mix the two. But for the purposes of us here today, if you feel like, okay, all of my revenue is coming in from something that has nothing to do with acting. So it's just good to know what is coming in and when it's coming in. So if you want to keep track of all of it, by all means do.
Well, your voice is always in my head saying, don't split focus. Focus on your goal, and your career here in this industry, and don't split focus and go off and teach. Like I was thinking about going off and teaching a tap dance class, and then I thought, but that's going to take energy and time. And then, what's going to happen when I get home and I'm all tired and stuff and I have to do my, my career work.
Right.
So, yeah.
So it really, you know what? It's fine if you're teaching a tap dance class to bring in revenue, but then you've got to remember the order of business, right? So most importantly, capture the cash sales, like outreaching to cut your customer base, which we're going to talk about tomorrow, right? Your customer base, like, so that has got to be important. So every week when you're scheduling your week, you guys, you want to schedule in time to do that. And I recommend that you schedule time to do that when you feel the most positive about yourself, right? If you get home from a long day and you're tired and you're grouchy, that's hard to do that then. That's for me. You need to know yourself. Like, when is a good time for you to do your outreaches? And you need to schedule that in your day. So if you're going off at night to teach a tap dance class to bring revenue in, great. Because like for 25 years, you guys, I waited tables. But I was really clear when I went to the restaurant. Like when I went to the restaurant at 4 p.m., I'd already did 5 drop-offs to casting directors, mailed a set of postcards, and set up when I was going to go to auditions out of backstage. right? So by the time I got to work, I was clear that that job was to pay the rent until all of this work began to pay the rent. So you have to do the work that's going to result in it paying the rent, right? If I'm reaching out to customers that are going to hire me to act, then I am doing the work that's going to result in the rent. So I just talked to this man last week, and he was in corporate America, and someone told him he had a really sexy voice. So he went out and learned how to be a voiceover actor, and he got the reels, he spent the money, he set all that up. Then he went out and got a voiceover agent, and he set all that up. And just this last year, he was able to quit his corporate job because he was bringing in more revenue from his voiceover than he was from that. Right. And now he's talking to me because he wants to add on camera to that. Right. Like, how do I do that? So, you know, really smart. He was thinking like a business person. Right. So he did that. So just make sure that if you have a lot of like odds and ends jobs, because a lot of us do, a lot of us have like, you know, a lot of you guys have 3 and 4 jobs. You know, you might drive Uber, you might do DoorDash, you might whatever, like you might have more than one job, right? So make sure you're scheduling the time to build this business that you want, that you talked about you wanted at the top of this challenge.
You know, Val, it's really a dilemma, I think, for some of us because, for example, I volunteer at Rikers Island to teach theater on Sundays, and that wipes me out for like 3 days because that's a very emotional and very draining thing to do. But it's fulfilling and it's important to me. But it's not. It doesn't bring in any money because it's a volunteer thing. So you know, I think we have to reach out if we're beginning. I mean, if we're at a certain level, no, you don't have to do volunteer work to make connections. But, you know, I mean, we have to keep busy and we have to keep our you know, our development, our professional development going somehow. So, you know, this volunteer stuff is not bringing in any money, but it still has a value, you know. So, I mean, if
Course.
you can't cut
Of course,
all that stuff
I
up.
often make sandwiches for the homeless on Sundays.
Okay.
Right? So I do that, right? So I think it's important to give back. I absolutely agree with you. I question the story that it wipes you out for 3 days. That's what I question. And I question, like, what could you do to change that story? And it might not, like, you know, you're like, oh no, it really wipes me out for 3 days. Okay. But like, what could you do to maybe not have it wipe you out for 3 days? Ask that question, right? Because if you're doing a volunteer job that on a Sunday and it wipes you out for 3 days, right? Like, you know, we have a look. Anytime that I complain about not having enough time in the day, I go fucking look at Reese Witherspoon.
She has
Right?
the
Like,
she has the same 24 hours in the day that we do.
that we do. Now, of course, she has a ton of assistants, and I know all of that, but we all have way more time. So I got this exercise from one of my money coaches. She goes, for the next 2 weeks, I want you to write down everything that you do every day. I have it right here, right? I mean, it was like crazy. And then you really start to see like 4:30 a.m. wake up, meditate. 5:15 I went to the gym. 5:45 I took a class. 6:30 I walked. 7 o'clock home. I had breakfast. I walked the dog. I memorized my lines. I got ready. 9 o'clock I had a sales call. 10:30. So like, you know, 9 o'clock I had a sales call. And then I don't know what I did between that time. I wasn't very good at writing this down, but like I wrote down like everything that I did, right? She's like, I want you to write down everything you do, because when you start to do that, you're going to start to see where you waste time, and time is money, right? So I recommend that exercise for you, Sandra. It might help. Like, just do it like a few days, like write down like what you're doing, like every minute. And like, it just helps to kind of like really begin to look at that.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we're theater people, we're actors, and we have a heightened empathy and connection with people because that's our business. We have to get into
Yeah.
their heads and become them. So, when you're working with 25-year-olds that are sentenced to life and they're incarcerated, it can be kind of draining. Like, making sandwiches for homeless people, I'm sure is emotionally, can be emotionally draining. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not the time or the energy, it's the, you know, emotional
Yeah.
stuff, but anyway, thank you for your answer. That was really a
Yeah.
great idea. And I'm going to get my journal ready and
Okay, great.
okay,
Thank
thank
you. Hello, Miss Spooner. Come on down.
Hello. Just in case you were wondering about how to pronounce my first name as well,
Yes, that's why I'm calling you Miss Spooner.
it's Siobhan. So
Siobhan.
yeah.
I thought
It's
so, but I was like, I didn't want to mess it up. Siobhan. I'm writing this down right now. Siobhan. Okay, great.
Thank you for helping me out on the email. I don't know how I managed to unsubscribe myself, but there we are. I'm now
Okay.
subscribed again. I have two questions really. So I'm also one of those people whose main income comes from a non-acting job, and I'm working with someone to help shift my focus because I think it got into my head that the people were counting on me to show up to do this job, and I really needed to start putting my career first.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one of the things that I've started doing is scheduling at least one acting task that will build my career each day. So no matter what happens, I do that one thing, and on top of rehearsing and things like that, but
Yeah.
just one thing like that.
Great.
But what would be a good thing to get into to start making some money from acting as soon as possible, or what would be a good way to to get there? Because at
Okay,
the moment,
so can
I'm
you
quite
tell
at the
me what
ground
is
level.
what is the one thing that you're doing every day?
So it can be, so today was quite busy. I sent off um, my application for the diversity program. I
Right.
also, last night I got contacted by a casting agent and a casting director, so I was able to reply to them today as well, which will lead on to my second question in a minute. And so it does vary. I try and make sure I'm applying to jobs regularly. Um, uh, and when I get money, I'm planning to redo my show reel as well. Enough money to redo my show reel as well. So there's lots of, it varies basically, but it has to be something active.
Okay. Okay. So that's a difficult question for me to ask to answer because I don't really know you that well. And so for me to say, oh, well, doing this and that, because frequently, like when I'm working with an actor, I'm discovering that about them, right? And then like, oh, you have all these, fight training and you speak all these different languages and you can do these kind of different accents and you live in London. We need to go after video games because that's one of the epicenters of is in London.
Mhm.
So then we'll make that decision. Oh, let's go after video games because that's a quicker path to cash for that person. Or
Mhm.
let's go after theater because it's also like where have you made money as an actor in the past?
Mainly from short films. I have been in theaters, but usually they're not paid.
Okay. So always go where the love is.
Mhm.
So wherever it's easiest for you to get attention.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. Like when I moved to California, like I was overwhelmed by the amount of casting directors because it was like 5 times as many as there were in New York. Right. And it was overwhelming, right? Because in New York, I had had a different business. I've had two businesses where I worked with actors, and I had a business in the 90s, and I was like a walking Rolodex. Like people would ask me, oh, who does this person work for? And I'd be like, oh, they work for this casting office, but they used to work for this casting office, and they cast these shows and these movies. I was like, I knew all, right? And so when I got to LA, I was like, because it was like, it was all new and it was so many people.
Yeah.
But I knew that what was easiest for me to book, right? Theater, because I had a really good theater resume, and I knew that I could go around to the theaters that were equity theaters that paid in LA and introduce myself because I had a good theater resume. What I learned is it didn't really matter in LA. They were more interested in you had TV and film if you were going to be in the big plays. But that was, I didn't know that. So I did that. Also, I knew that if it was funny, that I could book it. So I went after Disney first, right? Because Disney was perfect for me. Right. So I went after where I believed the love was going to come from the quickest. So you just told me short films and theater. Now you haven't made money in theater, but you booked it.
I book it the most regularly, but I get the
okay.
I get more
where
money
can you
from
book
short
it? That's
films.
money. But where can you book theater that pays? Like maybe it's like if you book it the most easily and you've booked it the most, all you have to do is like figure out how I book stuff that pays. Right? Because you've already been booking that. So you know how to do that. You're just looking to book stuff that pays. And then to turn up the volume with short films, therefore feature films that are going to pay. So I would say those are your two streams of revenue that I would focus on.
Okay.
In a mindset shift and increasing money because you're already making money.
Yeah.
Right. So always go where the love is. Like, where have you already been shown love? Right. Oh, okay. Well, I've already been shown love in theater and short films. Okay. So then keep doing that and increase what you're doing and set your bottom line. Okay. I'm going to do your play, but I need to be paid $500 a week.
Okay. Yeah.
To do the play. Okay. Which means that you're probably going to have to go to theaters that pay.
And it's going to be probably because people who usually book me are people who have known me from another play and so forth. So it's usually a network thing.
So say, hey, I appreciate the offer, but I'm really looking at making some money this time.
Yeah.
That's what I had to do.
Yeah.
When in New York, I did a lot of free theater. Right. And then at some point I said, no, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Because if you don't decide to switch, then you're always going to be in the same cycle.
Yeah.
Okay. So every time, this is for everyone, please listen. When you're stepping up to a new level in your business, there's a few things that have to change. Number one, your mindset. Therefore, your language. Therefore, your ask. All of these things have to change when you're stepping up to a new level in your acting career, in anything in life, right? The reason that we get stuck is even if you've had success, look back at why you had success, and most likely it's because you did something different. I mean, it's always because you did something different. So people will say to me, I've heard this, oh my God. People will say, oh, well, I got sick and tired. So I found this person on Instagram and I pitched myself and I got a paid acting job. That was just a fluke. No, you actually did something different than you had ever done before and it got a result for you. So keep doing the thing that got the result, right? But what happens is we chalk it up to a fluke, or we chalk it up to like, oh, well, that was just something that happened. No, if you really look, it's because you did something different that so if you want to create new results, you have to take different actions. I'm going to repeat that. If you want to create new results, you have to take different actions. for a lot of you, that means changing this, because this changes this and this changes results. Right? So I just had this conversation with a client this morning because she's been talking to her customers like she's a beginning actress. And I said, it's time now to let go of that language and start talking like you're a pro. And she said, well, I'm not a pro. I haven't booked anything yet. I'm like, it's not about what you've booked or not. It's about what comes out of your mouth. You know, there's a time where people want to hire someone that's at the beginning of their career because it makes them feel good to help someone, right? But if you want to continue to really work, then you have to start showing up as a pro with what you think and therefore what you say, right? So, hey, I appreciate the offer to do your play, but I now need to get paid to act.
I mean, what you just said about starting to do something different. One of the other things I've been doing differently is going to events, like, and I have generally come away with a new job. And I went to the Actors Pro Expo, and then I got contacted the next day by one of the agents who was there, and I also got contacted for a job. So I think.
There you go. Okay, so you did something new.
Yeah.
So then what I would do is look at some upcoming film festivals in London that you can go to because that seems to work for you, meeting new people and putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
Excellent.
So I just had a quick question because this will be the first time I'll be speaking to an agent.
Yes.
I don't know where to start. I mean, I like, besides asking what can they do for me and what can I do to help them to create a good relationship and work both in our best interests. I kind of never really considered having an agent, if I'm honest. I want an agent, but I never properly thought about it, if you understand what I mean.
Yes. Okay, so that's a very big question. We actually have a course in our Actors Biz School, how to keep or fire your agent. And we have a, you know, which is too late for you, but we have a challenge this summer, how to keep or fire your agent challenge. And then we will have an opportunity for you to pitch yourself to agents in the summer. We do that every summer. So the quick answer to that is, you have to have questions prepared when you meet an agent.
Yeah.
And so the best way to prepare for yourself is how do you see yourself? What do you see yourself booking?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you know? Who do you have previous relationships with?
Okay.
And what are your goals? Like, where do you see yourself going? What do you want to accomplish?
Yeah.
And really understanding what's the expectation of an agent, right? Like, a lot of you guys, have these huge expectations of agents, like, oh, they're going to do my marketing and no, they are salesperson. They are a salesperson, a commission-based salesperson. They are going to sell you to their customers, which become your customers, or hopefully already are your customers.
Yeah.
So that's all they are. They don't do anything besides that. And you need to give them and have the accoutrements for them to be able to sell you.
Yeah.
A reel, headshots, write. Some of my clients even write pitches for their agents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, part of the reason I've been a bit there about agents is because I have a couple of acting friends who are at a similar level to me, and some of them have had agents and they just it hasn't worked out for them. They haven't
Well, that's because
progressed
no
in
one
anything.
teaches you how to be in a business relationship.
Okay.
So this happens all the time. And by the way, I see what the comment here about if they want to meet you, they want to sign you. Definitely, that's true all over the world. If an agent calls you in, they are interested. Now they could become uninterested, if what they see in front of them is not what you see in yourself, or
Mhm.
your expectations are not what they feel they can meet. Those are reasons that they might call you in and not sign you.
Yeah.
But generally, someone's not going to waste time calling you in if they're not interested in you and they don't need you, right? So I just want to make that clear. And what was your thing? What did you say? I'm sorry.
Just now?
Yeah,
That's a good question, Valerie.
I don't know.
It's
Whatever.
gone.
Because I lost the train of thought. Anyway, yeah. So you know, about like you signing with them and them not calling you. This happens all the time
Mhm.
because you can hire someone to sell for you. In any business, this happens. This has happened in my business, let alone with agents. Someone is excited, they call you in, they sign you, and then they are either not a great salesperson, because anyone can go out and become an agent. That doesn't mean that they're good at what they do. So they might be interested in you and they might make a few calls and a bit submissions. No one's interested. No one calls you in. The person that they're going to be focused on always is the person that's making them the most money.
Mhm.
They're a commission-based salesperson. So, for instance, if you came and signed with my agent, and he might be excited about you in the beginning, right? He might be excited about you and think that he could make a lot of money from you, and he needs a young African-American, well, you're not African-American, Black girl. He needs a young Black girl that he can sign, that's because he knows that that's in right now and he's going to get it and he's excited about you. He brings you on. You don't communicate with him because you haven't been taught how to communicate, and you didn't ask in your initial meeting, how do you communicate with your clients? You should ask that.
Okay.
And so all of a sudden you sign and you expect magic to happen. Well, it doesn't happen. And it does, because it takes a while. So frequently actors lose interest and then they fire the agent because they didn't give it in time to evolve, right? But they also didn't communicate with that agent, so then he's losing interest. He's going to come back to me because I've been with him for 17 years and I consistently book.
Mhm.
I make him money. So if it comes down between you and me, he's always going to choose me. Okay? Because I make him money. So it's all about money, y'all. It's all about money. And today's theme is money. Okay? Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Javon. Okay. Quickly, Violetta, and then I have to skedaddle.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
So my question is sort of like, one of the things I wrote down was a cinematographer. And my question is sort of, when you're first starting to start creating your own content, how important is like being super good at like cinematography is, and like,
Well, I think if you're trying to, I think a cinematography, a DP, someone that's comfortable is a great person to write down, because
mhm.
That's someone that you should always think about when you're setting up if you're going to begin to your own career. Generally, if you're going to create content and you're going to have someone direct it, the director will usually have someone that they use to do their cinematography, right? They'll have relationships. So like with me, I hired a director for my short film, and then he didn't have a DP necessarily. So we hired a crew, including a DP and the gaffer and everything else that came with the camera that we wanted to use.
Mhm.
Right. So that's how we got to that. But generally, you're going to think about a director, attaching a director to your project, or having someone that's going to direct you. And they will be either their own DP if it's a small little short film, or they will have someone that is a DP for them.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
I mean, I think if you have someone that you know is a good DP, it's good to have that, because like, you know,
Mhm.
I did Deborah Granick, who discovered Jennifer Lawrence, and she won Sundance with her short film, her MFA project from NYU. I did that thesis. I did that short for her. And then we became friends. And then she became my DP because I needed a film in my one woman show. And she came to my house in Brooklyn and shot that for me years ago.
Mhm.
Right. And then in trade for that, I helped her get ready for Sundance, which she won. Right. So that was like how I did it. So she's someone that I could call to shoot something for me. I mean, now she's like, you know, a huge movie, you know, maker. But like,
Mhm.
you know, because she did Winter's Bone, which was Oscar nominated. Right. So yeah. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's good to have that.
Mhm.
Okay.
And just one more thing. The
Yeah.
first thing that popped in my head for this was like horror movies because I've heard that they're the easiest thing.
And
And
there's a lot of
also,
them.
yes, and TikTok because that's the easiest for me to make. So I'm gonna start doing that in March, the TikTok and start, yeah.
Great. Perfect. Those are perfect for you. Yes, horror movies. You can book horror movies, and there's a lot of them. All right. So great, you guys. Thank you for today and going there with me on money. Don't forget, if you want to join us for the Accelerate Live, it's Sunday from 11 to 4. Oh, that's the schedule. That's my schedule. So, you know, we'll send it out in the email today when we send out the recording. Have a great day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.